You're now watching two old farts making noises. Welcome to Canadian Art Today with your host, Paul Constable.
And we are here.
We are. Excellent.
And one day I'm going to learn to do David's job one day. Push the right buttons at the right time.
I don't know. He's pretty indispensable. I mean, we're just.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
we look forward to him back again.
Past his bedtime this time, though, so he can't make the show.
Yeah. So, well, I think we're good.
We'll figure it out. So, and today we have an actual, for the people who started to watch this interview about a week or 2 weeks ago, this is our take two. The interview went great. Our guest is wonderful, except we didn't get to really showcase her art. So this is a take two. So for some of you that are thinking it's deja vu, technically yes, technically no. But today when they speak about Janna's art, you actually get to see it and experience it in a little better light.
Yeah, we had a brutal way of, it was a very analog way of
yes.
It would be a lot better this way. Yeah. No, we have Anna is Janna. I'm sorry, Janna Kumi from. She's actually originally from the Netherlands and living in Vancouver, Canada, and I guess she's got a forest science degree. I guess we'll call it that. She worked in the forest industry for years, and she developed a real love for the forest. Like we're talking about the trees and the nature and the life forms around it. And after she's retired, she's applied for 2 Canada grants, and she produced a body of work, and she's had a few shows. And now, and I've known Janna for since 2015, and she's a member of Artists in Canada. And today on Canadian Art Today, we will talk with her about, I guess, her exploits and her journey, and with her friends, the trees. I guess we'll call it like that. Yeah. And we'll bring Janna on. Janna Kumi.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's nice to have you back. And I just wanted to say hello, love your stuff. And now I'm going to let you and Paul have at it. Enjoy. And we'll see you towards the end.
Bye, Stephen.
Bye. Cheers.
Hello, Paul.
Hello. Finally get this interview properly done. It's a thing that we value. And I think your work is quite valued. I like the environmental aspects of what you're doing. I think you do real justice to, I guess, that environment. And I think it's a lot of us kind of paint and draw, and we're content with our little worlds that we build. And I think your world is unique. It's a big studio, like you're outdoors all the time. And can you tell us just bring us up to speed a little bit with your journey, where you get us up to speed today, and then we'll go from there and we'll look at some of your work.
Okay, everyone. Excuse me. Paul, are you meaning from way back, or just today, or last couple
you
of weeks?
You can start wherever you like. Yeah, I think, well, I sort of mentioned that you had your forestry services that you work with. I think that does influence what you're doing. And hey, if you want to highlight people a little bit about that, that's great. And then we can move into, we'll talk about your actual work, and how you're, I guess, where you're going now that you've left that other career behind you, starting another career.
Well, I started my art journey when I had a stroke, 2005. So that's going way back a little bit. But it changed my direction from left brain, analytical, science-oriented, to the right brain, which is artistic. And so I think I'm going to measure my progress from that moment. And here I am today. 12, 13 years later, I have 3 exhibitions this year. I'm applying for some more next year. As you said, I was successful in getting 2 Canada Council grants, and I've honed into my topic, which is bark. And I think you can see one.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's twisted around a little bit here. So I've dealt mainly in commissions, and so that keeps me busy. I'll be 74 this year, so I'm not looking at establishing a long career in art, but I am interested in establishing a career in art, which is unique. And I think my topic, bark, plays a prominent role in that direction. With the Canada Council grants, it allowed me to travel the province and get thousands of images. So I'm set for life, whatever is remaining, for subject matter. Of course, every time I go out, I bring my camera with me and take new images.
Yeah.
About a month to draw one of these paintings that you see. So at the most, I can do 12, maybe 14 if I really push it. So
Yeah.
it's a laborious job, but I love it.
Yeah. No, they're beautiful. I'm actually just gonna. I'm probably just gonna start this video. We'll just start with slide 1 here. Oh, maybe Steven's got to help me here.
You should be able to add it. I have you all ready to go.
It's there, Steven, and I just clicked on it, but
here we go.
oh, let's go back there. There we go. There, Janna. No, I got your name cut off somehow. Interesting. The content, yeah. You're with a J, not an A.
Yeah, well, Anna's okay. Yeah, I can respond.
I don't know. It wasn't cut off on my slides, but it get nipped off because of the image. I guess the image went over top of the. I didn't bring the text to the front. Always a detail, but so we're looking at some of these. We just talked about these, the bark, like the different type of. Now, so the bark on this tree is from what tree?
This is a black pine, and it's growing in the back of the parking lot in North Vancouver. So I reach my topics, subject matters everywhere.
Yeah.
And I've kept my eye on this tree. And one thing I could say, when I take images, I always take images on the shady side of the tree. Because if you take it on the sunny side, everything turns brown and nondescript. It's only when the shady side you can get the colors.
So do you open your aperture up a little bit on the camera so that
I do, and I manipulate the images when I get back through Photoshop. I don't count myself as a realistic painter. I take artistic license, and I look for complementary colors. And if I don't see them, with the naked eye, I know I can get them through manipulation.
Yeah.
So my aim is to not draw botanical subjects as per se, but develop or produce an artistic product.
Yeah. So this one is titled Two Sides to the Story.
Yeah. Because it's a knot, right? And each side has developed differently in the period of growing apart.
Okay.
And this is a commission that's already sold, and I had 2 more to do. So I kept with the Two Sides of the Story titles with the other 2.
Yeah. No, it's it feels very organic. You don't have these hard edges that a lot of times people paint right to the edge. They have the white that really kind of blows into the white, which it gives it a freer form, I guess I'll call it. Because a bark, you could square it up quite easily and paint bark right to the edge, and it could be a square form. Where this is there a reason why you just left free form around it? Is it the name rather than squaring it up?
Yeah, my earlier work was all this stuff is basically rectangular. And this piece is actually also rectangular, but when Photoshop and manipulate images to fit, I took
Right.
this almost square format. But I used to paint all the way to the edge, whatever format I would use. And I found it was very busy. So I had to open up and within the composition have some negative space, not colored. And then I thought I'm gonna start with compositional, changing things around. So yeah, I've developed I think my most recent work is strongly rectangular, 24 by 12. And so I play around with white space a lot. And I find the work is really detailed and the eye can't take it all in. So
No.
I give space for the eye to rest either within the composition or outside of it.
Yeah. The white space really makes a difference. Like it's a really nice framing for, because it is a very busy coastal line. And I call it like that BC coastal line all the way around. Like it has that in and out of all the little inlets and port things around the coast. So, but it has it just has a very neat thing. It almost feels very geographic as well in its shape, right? The shape that it takes on. So you got lichen. What kinds of things are growing within this tree now? It's not rotting, correct? Is this tree in its decline, or is it still a healthy tree?
This one is a very high, healthy tree. That composition or that image was taken in 2019. And I actually recently redid it with an image that I just got a couple of months ago. The other thing I would say, photographing these detailed works with a light white background is very difficult. And this is actually a photograph that a professional photographer did. So it looks bleached out, and I can't get around it
Yeah.
easily, either with me or with a professional doing it. Certainly, that the edges, other than the green, is more bluer, more grayer than you can see here. So yeah.
Yeah, I find that in a lot of other things that are shot that are hard to shoot, are like metallics are really hard to shoot, and to get the real sculpture is very hard to shoot, and they'll drive a photographer completely nuts trying to make that sculptor happy with the imagery of their sculpture. And at a certain point, you have to realize it's a two-dimensional piece reproduced on a computer screen as well. So it's a facsimile thereof. I guess to look at that. I think we really have to look at that. We'll just move on. I like this one here, still standing Douglas fir. So
Yeah, this one
disregard
is around 100 Mile House in the interior of British Columbia. And it's a cut block, was standing in a cut block, remaining wildlife tree in a cut block. And it had a most beautiful bark on the shady side. And this just is one picture of a scale of Douglas fir.
Yeah. Beautiful blues. I love the blue grays in this one, and I love the ghosted way, like it is on the peripheral areas of this piece. So rather than being sharp all the way to the edge, it's ghosted. Is there a reason why those are ghosted back on the edges?
Number one, I didn't want to paint them or draw them.
Okay.
Number two, actually the Douglas fir has two bark structures. The one you see here is the thick, corky layer of the bark, which is really well developed in the interior of Douglas fir because of the fires. So it really is a fire-resistant, corky layer.
Oh, okay.
And the sides, on both sides, it has a cellulose scleridaris kind of structure every which way. And you'll drive yourself crazy if you start to draw it. So
I think it's probably happening already. It would drive me crazy. My eyes would be hurting really bad.
Yeah.
Do you use a magnifier at all at any point for some of the finer points?
I photograph it and manipulate the image a little bit with Photoshop, and then I expand that. So
I guess I mean when you're actually producing the piece, do you have a magnifier you look through?
oh my, no, I used to. Upstairs, I have a drawing sort of level, sort of drawing table,
Yeah.
which I do use with ink. But this one was drawn on my easel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
And
guess I was
so
just looking at some of the details so fine in some of these areas that
I'm wearing glasses these days.
yeah, me too. I get things get a little
You
fuzzy
know,
around the edges.
I can't work on these things for hours on end.
I
I
would
work
think it's like
on,
doing needlepoint after a while.
yeah,
Your eyes would just hurt.
yeah.
But,
No, no, 20 minutes I go in the garden, water the plants or something, and then
so
come back to it.
we had talked earlier about, you know, how do you maybe without ruining what you produce. I mean, 12 pieces of work in a year in this is a lot for what the nature of the style of this work is. But if you were to speed it up, so in other words, if you added like a watercolor base in some way and then embellish it with your pencil, is that a way that you were thinking maybe might work for you as well?
I was thinking that, and then I attempted it and totally failed.
Yeah.
Because, and I realized that while I'm drawing, I'm always working on the composition. Do I include this or not? And you see in the back, I'm starting really loosely with a lot of space in this drawing.
Right.
And this is on panel board. The image that you're looking at now is on paper. So paper doesn't allow me the opportunity to change dramatically.
Right. Yeah.
With this stuff on the panel, if I make an error, it is easier to take the gesso, redo the area, and
So do you use the gesso to seal it first?
I use several layers of GAC GAC 100 to prevent any resins that are in the panel from ever coming to the
True.
surface. And then I have 4 or 5 layers of white gesso. And then I have a mixture of calcium carbonate, pastel ground, and titanium white. Mix that really well, and that gets 3 or 4 layers. So that's a lot of prep for a panel.
So do you on that? Do you sand in between those?
Oh yeah, everything is sanded with a 400
it becomes like a velvet soft finish. Like I'm just trying to get a feeling for. Yeah. I love. Yeah. Oh, I have a friend.
I love the ampersand board. If I can get an ampersand board, like a 24 by 12, I'd be in heaven. But they don't make that
Really
in this size, so I have to do these sizes myself.
So not the crate. You don't work on like a cradled panel then initially on
This
a
is
wood
the cradle panel, which I've applied all these layers of gesso and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's yeah. No, I was just trying to figure out the kind of wood that was because I know the cradled panel is. I didn't know if that's a birch panel initially that you would.
I think it's a birch. Yeah.
And you prepare it from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be the more stable of the woods as far as the cradle panel. They don't warp as bad, and they have a nice tight grain in them in the surface. So I have a friend that used to do these beautiful, rich black and white drawings, but he would use the I guess it's a marble powder, and he would mix that marble powder, much like gesso, but you could almost see your face glowing in this thing by the time he had 600 grit paper on there and finally sanding it down. But he was doing these beautiful, rich black and white drawings. I couldn't figure out how he got them. He said, it's just beautiful to draw on. It's like velvet. He said, it's just velvety soft. And he said, every little touch, like an H pencil will show up beautiful on it, but a 6B or a 9 is just gorgeous. He said the blacks are gorgeous. So anyway, going back to your stuff, I can see how that helps your work as well in the reflection and bringing out of the texture of the pencil on there. And because you don't want everything to be two-dimensional. You want to give a feeling of depth and shadow. Otherwise, you don't get the layering of the skin of the bark, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, I don't go any finer than 400 grit, and I do use the marble dust. It's a similar,
you do.
it's the same,
Yeah.
I think, as calcium carbonate.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
This is a beautiful piece. This one.
yeah,
I love the way the layers, like it's almost like you could have done this with a palette knife. It feels goopy. Like it feels like beautiful, rich gobs of paint laid one on top of the other. And if I would have just seen that on I would have thought, oh, that's a really neat palette knife piece, right? And yet it's a pencil drawing. It's gorgeous.
I made the decision to go as environmentally sensitive as I could. So for me at that time, it was a color pencil.
Yeah.
And
So
ordinary.
what other mediums do you use? Use a pencil, basically just like a Faber-Castell type of pencil?
I use Prismacolor basically.
Prismacolor, okay.
I love the softness and of
Mhm.
the Prisma. If I need to have a hard edge to it or harder, sort of deeper color, I will use a Faber-Castell.
Okay.
But I use a lot of water to mix my color pencils.
Yeah.
You can use any kind of a solvent, but
Right.
again, I just want to basically be as environmentally sensitive as I can with my art. So I don't.
So go ahead.
I use water on the Prismacolor and the Faber-Castell. I use for the hard edges.
Yeah.
The deep, dark, hard edges.
So do you do a little bit of brush work on them as well?
No,
just with a pencil. Yeah.
there's probably 5, 6 layers on every color you see.
Right. I have, personally, I'm just asking because I've done like pencil crayon works, but not to this level of detail and stuff. And mostly it's just scribbling to stay between the lines when I'm doing it with my grandkids. But it's something that I've always admired, and the fine detail and the realistic value you can get from just pencils. I mean, it's amazing, and the colors available are a rainbow. There's just everything available in every hue you'd want. So yeah, they're gorgeous. Yeah. The now this was a Sitka
Sitka spruce, and it's actually stands 400 to 500 meters from where I live. It's a smaller tree, and I find that I get my best images with trees that are around 30 to 50, 60 years old. When I get to old growth, although it's wonderful to hug an old tree,
Yeah.
but in terms of image, there's a lot of moss or lichens, or you really can't get it at the structure.
I want to let people know that please disregard the sizes on this.
Oh yeah.
This is not the sizes. This was my mistake when I put this together, and I should have edited that out. And I thought they were correct, but
Yeah, it's only 24.
they're massive pieces. These would be lovely if it was that big. And
I could use a palette knife on that kind of size. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think if it was 36-48, that would have been a year's work, pretty much. And the sizes that you work. So what sizes are you working basically? 11, 14-ish, sort of?
No, well, 24 by 12 is mine.
Okay. So
the size that you have here.
Yeah.
I like the length of the panel. It gives me enough room to express what I want, and it's short on the width, and so it focuses me on composition. The one that you opened up with is a 24 by 20. So that's the range. I have smaller. I'm working now with smaller items. I have a few on my Artists in Canada site. But I still take a lot of time to do them. And
I
so,
found that as well. Small.
yeah, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I don't know why it takes me so long. I fiddle around with the composition a long time, I guess.
Well,
So I'd rather produce a work that I can ask $750 for it and finish it in 4 weeks than something 250, 350 takes me 3 weeks. Yeah. It's preparation of the panels that is a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, you need drying time between every layer, and
Yeah.
you definitely have to produce, well, I guess prepare a whole bunch at the same time if you know what you're going to be doing. Takes a little bit of organization. Sometimes, like for myself, I'll be a square one day or a horizontal the next day, vertical. So I'm preparing canvases, mostly what I do, but you still have to prepare them. Stretch them and put them together, because I do my own stretchers as well. So I can see the same thing with this as well, in deciding ahead of time what's going to be a long vertical or something's going to be a square format for your pieces. But
So yeah, you asked me in the beginning how I'm going to speed up my work, and I find if I can now working on these 24 by 12, I'm getting used to that format. I have actually prepared 3 or 4 panels altogether. So I'm a step ahead from where I was last time I spoke to you.
Yeah. Well, it's always prep. I don't know. Artists are, I kind of spontaneous, and if it's not ready to go, then I'm not ready. But if I have it ready, I can pick it up and just start, right? So yeah, I have a number of blanks ready to go, but they're not on purpose. They were just there. But otherwise, if I have to slow down and start stretching something and doing that, that becomes a chore in itself. And I don't get any work done that day because I stretched something specific to an idea that I wanted to do. But anyway, that's speeding up what we're doing here a little bit.
Well, the other thing, Paul, is I want to have, 10, 15, maybe 15 to 20
right.
Works by the end of the year that I can start seeking gallery representation. So there is an urgency for me to, speed up the work or get some accumulation of work that I can shop around.
Yeah. Yeah. Gallery representation is, it's a tough thing. I, and I think you'll have to, your prices are not overly high. Your prices are, I think, and I'm going to just talk about prices for a minute here. You said, anything from 250 to what, 1,500 or $1,700. Personally, I think you're light by about 50%. And for the amount of work and the time and the kind of quality work that you're doing, I think your larger pieces should be probably twice what you're charging. That's a personal feeling. Your gallery is going to take 50%. So you're back down to where you were because you only have 12, 15 pieces of work a year being produced. So you need to either find one, you can't get 3, 4 galleries handling your work because they're all going to want 10 to 15 pieces. So it's going to be really hard to supply that. And maybe we can talk about how you might be able to do that after our show. But I'm just saying, other people watching is to have other people look at your work as well and to evaluate what somebody would pay for something like this. And a lot of us, most artists, are way undervalued their own work. So it's not so much a lot of them making a living. Your pension from your previous job, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be paid well for the skill set that you have. So
can I make a few points?
You sure can.
I totally agree with you. But if more people would take up this topic, then more people would see the bark and think, oh, I might want to have a piece of bark on my wall. but I'm unique. There is no one in the world drawing bark.
Well,
So you have to find these people like, oh, I like the drawing. Could I live with it on my wall? Those people are few and far between. Now, I mentioned earlier that most of my work is sold through commissions.
Yeah.
So
you do you have a fairly regular guy, the person that buys?
I've had a few. I've had a doctor in Edmonton who has bought over the years 6 pieces.
Yeah.
I have a collector in Nova Scotia who's collected 3 pieces. The commission was for 3, the second drawing of the 3. So, she waited a year for me to do them.
Yeah.
And because she wanted greens and she liked the knots. So, I looked at the province for knots with green on them.
Yeah. Well, doing a commission is a completely different thing, right? Commissions, you now have a boss a little bit, right? So they want to be comfortable with something that you're doing for them and making it personal.
Mm-hmm.
Again, commissions are, you make our living as an artist from that. But it may not be per se exactly what you would like to do because you're making concessions to your patron, I guess. So that's something that needs to be discussed as well. Because stuff isn't selling doesn't mean it should be lowered, because it will not move any quicker if you lower it. I think the imagery is unique enough that you have to develop your market, and you're doing that, developing your market for what that is, because no one, like you said, else is doing that. Especially with the amount of hours you're putting into this thing. Like, you might get somebody who'll knock one of these off in acrylic paint within the week. It will not be the same feeling and look as to what you're doing, because pencil has a certain look to it. And unfortunately, your doctor friend is not telling his friends about it. He's keeping it all to himself. And you really like to have people, that friends of friends that are telling other people about what this person can do. But he is building his own little body of work from you, which is great. And it's great support to have that. This is a lovely piece. I guess we'll just go back and talk a bit about this piece of work here. Yeah.
It is 28 by 22 inches.
Yeah.
It is a Sitka spruce.
So is this a knot again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a knot again. Yeah.
She wanted 3 knots. So I can't remember where I got this image from. It's my own image, but I made it long ago. Pumped up a little bit of the lichen color. It was probably taken in a bad time of year, maybe, heated up summer, and lichens kind of wither and die to a certain extent with a lack of water. So I pumped up, I do manipulate the image for sure.
Yeah.
But, I enjoy the detail. I'm a detail person. So
we can see that.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
But even I get tired. So you can see I'll drift off at the edges,
I like this in that the lichen is kind of circular around the thing. You're creating like this a target. It's rings that are going around, but the lichen is all, you got greens and yellows, and then the blues on the one side, the cooler on the right hand side, and it layers back to fading off into the white. No, it has a very nice feel. Again, it's just it's got a very nice textural feel to it. Anyway,
there's basically 3-4 different lichens on that tree that make up that image.
Yeah, and your title, "Meet Me in the Middle." There you go. Yeah. I mean, I sense a real conversation between you and these trees. I don't know. I think there's,
I think so.
You revisit them a number of times, and you've seen them age. for positive, for negative, whatever reason, like they're in their demise or they're still healthy, and you're recording these things. And I think there's probably, with a Canada Council grant, or a book of some kind, or some resource that would archive these pieces for longevity. I think there is some. I could see a poet writing amazing poetry to some of this work. It would make an amazing image and poetry. And I'm sure there are poets that would collaborate with you with almost existing works that are done with the environment. It's just a matter of finding the right people that would be doing that, and your willingness to want to do that. But
Well, I do. I have a few poets who have used my art,
mm,
and I certainly don't charge them for it. I'm happy to give it to them. Like I'm saying, I'll be 74 this November, so that age thing, is real. And so I'm not looking for sucking every penny out of whatever. Truly, I'm happy when I place my art and they pay me 1,300 for it. It's good. I'm happy. If a poet wants to use my art for inspiration, go to it. No problem. I have my art on choir arrangements. People contact me from all over. I saw your art. Could I use it for XYZ? For sure. Go right ahead.
Yeah. No, it's nice that you're sharing with a lot of people, and but they should give you credit for what.
Yeah, I do. I do want to credit. Yeah.
For that, but I think it's just a matter of trying to find your markets that would. And I see, the environment and the forestry type people and people that are interested in what subject matter that you are painting, and say they're doing a play or say they're doing something else. These pieces would become a nice graphic on their, like you said, on their catalog or cover or something. But even producing your own piece of work in a collaborative manner helps you. So, and if you were to find a partner, find somebody that complements what you're doing rather than taking away from, right? So it's just a nice.
I donate my work to the Forest Without Borders with the Canadian Institute of Forestry. I support them every year.
Yeah.
So
I can see that,
Yeah.
the love of what you do, for sure. So here's another one. Keep in touch.
Oh, that's the first one. Okay, keep in touch. Yes. That image is the second piece I've drawn from the first one you showed.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 3.5 years later. It's the same tree. And I never thought that I would enjoy doing the same thing twice. So actually the right side is the original knot now 3.5 years later. But I didn't like what was happening on the left side. So from the same tree, I took another half of knot. So this is a composite image.
Right.
Same idea.
Yeah. I guess on your site, one of your comments you had made is that your work is, I guess, a cognition and contemplative practice. I thought, well, it is a little Zen-like, a little bit, right? Is that, do you find is there a calming aspect to working on this for a number of hours at any one time?
Yeah. There's a lot of thoughts in your mind when you're working hours on 2.5 square inch of work.
Yeah. No, it's very true. Like that is a small little piece, and when you see at the end, and you're happy at it, finishing 2.5 square inches at the end of the day, that's like I just wet my brush when I did that. I mean, not happy yet, but when I can see that you're quite content with, that's a good chunk of piece to accomplish in a day.
The green is extremely difficult, and it's very important that for me to get it right.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
the green
I'm
is
just not just splatting or, getting green sectioned off and go on to the next little section.
yeah.
It is quite a large piece. It's also 24 by 20 inches. And it's a larger piece than the original one because I covered more space, so it's larger. It's actually right now in the Canadian Federation of Canadian Artists signature invitational until June 11th.
Okay.
Actually, I'll crow a little bit. I have one piece sold, and it's the only piece sold in this show that the.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
So a couple from North Carolina bought it, and they loved the caption. So
whatever works.
Whatever works.
Well, it's important sometimes, and we'll just talk about that. Titling your work how important is that? Is it important to?
Really important, very important. And they wanted the little write-up that you get when you submit your work to the Federation, and they wanted that on the back of the painting because it's entitled "Follow Your Path."
Yeah.
And they like the write-up, so that sold the drawing.
Yeah, on social media, we had a conversation about titling of work and how important it is to do it or not do it. And some just want to, white painting number 1 and white number 2, number 3. And some actually went into talking about the imagery, I guess, leading people a little bit about what it was about. Because sometimes abstracts can be confusing to people. And if it's a beautiful scene of a mountain, they can maybe get that, maybe the title of the mountain they would like to know. But your work, you're introducing people to a new vision, a thing that they don't spend a lot of time. They walk by it, but they don't stop and look at it. Maybe, but now they do. Maybe they look a little bit at that tree that they never looked at before because of what you did. So that's what an artist does. You're a set of eyes that nobody else, you know what I mean? I got another artist that mentions that people walk by what you normally stop and look at, and they never really see what you see until you show them that old tin can that's been stepped on that's beautiful, or that tree that's growing in the parking lot that should be in the forest, but is trying to make a living out in a parking lot somewhere, and it's kind of a beautiful thing.
Artists not only create beauty, they also create a feeling. So I'm after the feeling more than the beauty, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So if I can make and enhance the feeling by a title, by a description, by the artwork, I consider my job done.
Yeah.
And then the black pine, actually it's grown all over Canada. And the reason why it's grown all over Canada, because it's along the roadways, and it tolerates exhaust fumes very well. So if it's a pine tree growing along a road and planted, it is a black pine.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Please note. And yeah.
So this
one is actually a compliment to the one that you showed before, the Douglas fir standing alone in the cut block.
Right.
And it's actually the left and right side of that image.
It feels very much like a map. It feels like a map of a coastal area, like Newfoundland, a little bit in our coast and of Canada, and
Labrador and Newfoundland.
Yeah, you know what? And that's something that is maybe something to think about. But I'm just saying it's kind of cool because a lot of times those maps were kind of drawn where all the little inlets were drawn with the light gray, and I see that in the cartography when it was done. And I see this beautiful, like it's a gorgeous piece. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. Little spots of that red and orange, and not overly because it's a dominantly gray and blue piece, and a little bit of those umbers and and ochres. And, I love that. But I love that you don't draw everything in and paint everything and pencil everything in. That little soft edges, they give you a feeling it's not so flat anymore. It has there's depth and a bit of roundness to that piece of work, and it also focuses your eye on the color aspects of what you should be looking at. Yet there's more. That there's more bark on that tree than just there, right? So,
Yeah.
no, I think people a lot of times. I've always said an artist is at least 10 years ahead of their audience at any one time. It takes a long time to bring people back up to speed as to where you, excuse me, as to where you are today in your art practice. Um, so what are you going to do now? Your art journey, where is it going now? Like from today, like where is your eyes set on? You talked about a gallery, a good gallery representation is one that you were looking for. Is that regionally or outside your region?
I would like to, interestingly, most of my work is sold east of the Rockies.
Okay.
So either they like BC trees, or the art-loving public is into trees east of the Rockies. Here in British Columbia, it's all landscape art. It's
I think it's moved past just what a bark. Um, I think that is a little too colloquial. That's you regionalizing what you do. I think these things, the way things happen, it's bigger when it becomes something else, or people see other things in it that make them want to look at it every day when they get up and they go to their office or to their home. I think that makes a work live longer on a wall. Otherwise, they change it up with other stuff. And I think this work is so unique from a beautiful prairie landscape or a mountain scene or something like that, but even a portrait. So I think you're at the early stages of your development here. Like I hate to say it, like you're just starting to touch on what is going to take off. I think this stuff is it's beautiful. It's a good rendition of what it is, but it's also other things. It's sort of like uh, you've opened the eyes to other people to see not just bark, but to see other things in what you're doing. This could be just, if I didn't know what this was bark, it's just a beautiful abstract with cartography based imagery. Wouldn't know what it was, which is a great thing. Like that's a nice thing. And once somebody says, "Oh, by the way, that's bark of a pine or whatever," they go, "Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Now I can see that. Now I can see that." So now all of a sudden they grew and doubled their knowledge almost overnight, like right away. So I've got to move on here. We got to get a couple more images in here quickly. This one was one of the first ones I've seen that you kind of put in a circle.
yes, it actually, the original was up and down like a rectangular, and it didn't work for me, so I put it into a circular cut mat. So that's mat. That's circular,
Right.
and I used inks with a pen.
Right.
Hemlock. Hemlock has really nondescript bark, so I couldn't color it. It would be all gray or dark gray or
Yeah.
nothing. So I used these colored inks.
No, it's got a really different feeling with the white space around it. Like it's really a focus on one aerial's piece, like the textural aspects. Probably I'll call it that. Almost like looking through a telescope or a spy scope of some kind, like centralized. I'm gonna just go on here. I got to make sure we get all these on here because
All right. So this is a piece that sold to the North Carolina couple. Following the path.
Yeah, good
It's a
choice.
little sapling of Sylvester pine. Sylvester pine is a European tree, so whoever did the park in Ambleside, West Vancouver, took a lot of exotic trees and planted them all over the place. So they're off-site. So this is not a typical Sylvester pine appearance, but it's very small. If you see Sylvester pine in the in Europe, the scales are larger, and here they seem to be smaller.
Yeah, I like the fleshy nature of this one. This is a little bit warmer palette on this one than your other ones are more of a blue gray and gray valued, and this one has a
It's
little warmer.
orangey. If you look at
Yeah.
it from
Yeah.
afar, it is orangey.
Yeah. No,
And you can see all the lichens follow the edge of the scales, the bark scales. So
No.
hence the follow your path.
Yeah, it's very nice.
This one is for me. Sometimes artists draw paint for themselves.
Right.
And the story behind this one, if you've been in British Columbia way back, like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you know that the whole interior of the province was covered with lodgepole pine.
Mm-hmm.
Because of logging, fires, climate change, bark beetle, you cannot find a mature lodgepole pine today
Oh dear.
in British Columbia.
Yeah.
So that is a lodgepole pine bark. Of course, it's very nondescript. You know, it's kind of blackish, and sometimes it has a lot of inner bark showing. That's the orange part. If you look at the bottom right-hand side, you can see that yellow. That is the beginning of a bark beetle attack. The tree wants to expel these beetles, and so produces a lot of resin.
Right.
This little pine is not larger than 7 inches or so in diameter. It's a goner. It's not going to survive many more years.
Right.
The knot on top is from lodgepole pine in Manning Park. It was a little bigger. There's not much beetle kill, it seems to me, in Manning Park.
Yeah.
You can see larger trees that are still relatively healthy, but the rest of the province, no.
Oh dear.
Yeah, Silver Lining, the title, is my plea for the Forest Service and geneticists, research in universities to try to match the genetic composition of the seedlings they plant to the site that they require. I believe that if we were planting more site-specific trees with a right genetic component, we could use research to make these trees more resistant.
Yeah, I know that's happening across the country. The spruce beetle and all kinds of things are really going after our trees across the country as well, and the Dutch elm disease and all the different things that are coming out with that. Right now, we're losing a lot of them with fire.
Yeah.
It's devastating. Well, this is a great conversation. I think I really appreciate you being able to come back with us again on this, and I think there's the pieces are wonderful. This last piece is a wonderful piece as well. I think we'll let Stephen back in here, and we'll have a conversation.
No, it's absolutely gorgeous stuff. I love it. I love it all. And I can see the people in North Carolina. When I looked at that, I saw a dragon. I was like, that looks like a dragon. So maybe that's why. Who knows? Those people in the Carolinas are just crazy. Your work is a little dragon, but your work is beautiful. So I think hopefully this will get it out to people, and they'll think it's beautiful, and they'll be banging down your door, or galleries will be banging down your doors to come and represent you. So everybody.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, guys.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate it very much.
And we'll get your links posted here as well.
Yep, we'll have everything below, everybody. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and both of you, I guess, hang out, and we'll go